Hey everybody, Carl here with Drive and Ride Motors, and today we're going to look at the Corolla. Now, if you're looking for a pre-owned Toyota Corolla, hopefully I'm going to be able to give you some information today that's going to help you make your decision better. Now, what I've got here, and you can stop rubbing your eyes, you are not seeing double. We actually have two 2014 Corollas. One is the LE model and the other one is the S model or Sport model. So what I'm going to do today is kind of give you an overview of what these cars are and what you should look for when you're looking to make your decision. So as I mentioned earlier, there's four main models that the Toyota Corolla comes in. You've got in Canada the CE or Classic Edition, which is basically the base model. You've got the LE, which is the Luxury Edition. You've got the S, which is the Sport Edition. And then at the top of that tier, you have the LE Eco. Now, if you're watching and you're in the US, instead of the CE being the base model, it's going to be the L being the base model. Now, what's important to note is if you're looking at a pre-owned one of these, in 2014, they did a major refresh on the overall design of this, and so it really came a long way, especially, well, in my opinion, in looking a lot more sportier, a lot more modern. Once you get from the 2013 and older, from a looks perspective, it's going to look a little bit dated. Now, there's another major change that happened in 2014, and you'll notice that both of these models have the same VVTi 1.8 liter engine. They're both putting out 132 horsepower, 128 foot-pounds of torque, but in the LE and the S model and the LE Eco, they actually have a Cvt transmission or a continual variable transmission. And so what that actually does is it's going to make it feel like it's got a lot more power when you're driving around, and it's actually going to make it a lot more fuel efficient, especially on the highways. So if fuel efficiency is a major concern or a major checkbox in your next vehicle you're looking for, you might want to look at the 2014s and newer. In addition to having the four different models, they're also going to have a couple different trim levels and different packages that are going to add various features to the vehicle. So in this case here, these actually have the 16-inch tires, rims with some hubcaps on them, but sometimes you're going to find them with 17-inch alloy wheels, and that's going to affect your price as well. So why don't we hop inside the LE model and I'll show you some of the features that come with this one, and then afterwards we can hop over into the S and show you the contrast between the two of them. So being a Toyota, of course, we're well aware that they're well known for their reliability and for their craftsmanship. What they're not known for typically is a lot of extra bells and whistles. So going with the LE or the Luxury Edition is going to give you what I would consider to be some of the basic essentials in a modern day car. Right off the bat, you've got this real nice dash layout, and this is very unique to the Corolla. I find, you know, this got a very unique layout for their controls. So this model does have, of course, the automatic transmission or the CVT transmission. In the older models, they did come with a 4-speed automatic or the manual transmission. This one actually has the heated mirrors, which is really nice in the winter, and you've got all your mirror controls down here, and you do have traction control right over here that you can turn off right in front of your cup holders. So here I am in the back seat of the car. Now, I left the seat as it was for me sitting in the driver's seat. I'm 6'2", just to give you an indication of how much room is back here. So I'm able to sit back here. My head is just barely touching and I've got lots of leg room. Now, in 2014, they actually extended the wheelbase on these vehicles and actually gave the back seat a little bit more leg room. So if you're planning on carrying a lot of cargo or people in the back seat, again, thinking 2014 and newer might be helpful for you. So for being a small car, you know, the trunk space is actually pretty decent. With 13.1 cubic feet, this car has pretty comparable trunk space to other cars in its segment. One of the things I really like that Toyota did with the headlights on these vehicles is they both come with LED headlights for low beams, and on the high beams they actually come with halogen. So when you're driving at night, you're going to get a much better experience, a lot more visibility. Now, we're going to kind of hop over and start looking at the S model a little bit, and I'm going to kind of show you some of the differences between that, because again, with the S model, really the only differences are going to be cosmetic and appearance-wise. The engines, transmissions, drivetrains, all that stuff is going to be the same. So first off, you're going to notice On the LE, you've got a nice, still looks sporty looking bumper. You got a little bit of carbon fiber accents on it. But if you look over at the Sport model or the S model, you're going to notice that this one comes by default with fog lights, and you're going to get that nice chrome trim line around there, a little bit more aggressive look to the front end, as well as this really nice honeycomb grille up top here. That's what you're going to get with the S model. Having said that, you can still get fog lamps inside the LE model as an upgrade package, I believe. Again, that's the kind of things that might affect some of your end price. The mirrors on the Sport model are going to have integrated turn signals, and the LE and the L model or the CE model are not going to have that. So that's another little difference that you can kind of take note of. The back trunk lid on the LE model is pretty basic, whereas on the Sports model, we have a nice little lip on here, which kind of gives it a bit more of a sporty appearance. So that's pretty much the main differences on the exterior of the two models. You're going to find a lot of the differences on the inside, however. So why don't we hop inside and check those out. So one of the first things you're going to notice on the Sport model is going to be, it's going to have an upgraded cloth inside, as well as it's going to have leather wrapped around all the seats. And so that leather accenting and the upgraded cloth interior really up the feel, I guess, of the quality in this vehicle. And of course, that holds true to the front as well. You've got a real nice leather wrapped center console, which is going to give it a bit more of a elegant or classy look, if you would. So inside here, you know, the leather, as I mentioned, with the nice large stitching, I really like that. On the door handle, where there's a cloth armrest, there's a nice leather armrest on this, which again brings up the quality feel to it. The steering wheel is actually leather wrapped. It's the same steering wheel as the other one in terms of ergonomics and feel, but it does have the leather around it. So again, a little bit more classy, a little bit more luxurious feeling, which is ironic since that's the luxury edition. But anyways, a couple other things that are different. You do have the paddle shifters here, which is kind of fun. So once you're inside here, you're going to find that the overall layout configuration of the dash and console is very similar to the LE. One major difference that the Sport or the S model does have is you actually have this center screen in here, which is going to give you information on your trip. Things like your average liters per 100 kilometers, how far you've got on your tank of gas, your average speed, things like that. All the controls on the steering wheel are going to be pretty much the same. Over here, very much the same again. You've got your backup camera, and you're going to have the all your audio controls. So you can select, you know, what source you want from your audio, as well as fuel mileage, fuel consumption, and your Bluetooth phone connections. Again, the heated seats down there come with this one. One major difference between the S model and the LE model is you do have this little button down here in the center console right next to your traction control, and that's called Sport mode. Now when I hit Sport mode, you're going to notice Sport appears in your dash over here. And what that actually is going to do is that's going to adjust the shift points for your transmission. It's going to make it rev a little higher to give you that extra power. So you're going to get a little bit more of a sporty feel with that. So combine that Sport mode with some of your paddle shifting. You might be able to have a little bit of fun with this car. So I think we need to go for a little test drive. So we're taking the test drive in the Sport model. This vehicle is very solidly built, so that you're not going to hear a lot of rattles and squeaks. Put that heated seat on there nice and high. On high mode, this gets warm in a hurry. Even though you're driving in drive mode, you can actually flip over into manual mode and then use kind of the Tektronix switch there, downshift here. However, you don't have to do that. You can leave that in normal drive mode, and you've got those little paddles here. And so if you need to downshift a couple times, here she goes. Without even switching this to manual mode, your paddles are always going to work, which is kind of nice. Suspension is nice and plush. You know, we're going over some bumps and we're not hearing any bangs. Whenever you're doing a test drive, it's always helpful to, you know, test your braking, make sure you don't get any squeaking or pulsating. That's a typical problem in some of the smaller cars where you get warped rotors for whatever reason, and when you press the brakes, you get that pulsing feel. In this case, brakes are nice and tight, nice and straight. I really like the position of the armrest here. You know, I can set my elbow on it and my hand can rest firmly on the shifter. We've got a little traffic circle here, so I like to test the suspension on them as you go around the curves. Nice and tight. A little bit of body roll, but not too much. Now I think what we need to do here now is let's go ahead and try a 0 to 60 and see how well she responds. And I'm gonna leave it in automatic mode. Off we go. Woo-hoo-hoo. You know what? I'm actually a little surprised. I only flipped on the sport mode like halfway through, and I just noticed instantly how it stayed longer and the shift points were totally different. The Cvt transmission mixed with the sports mode actually is not a bad combination. And the road we're testing on is actually a little curvy as well, so I don't think I actually got up to 100 kilometers, but I think the acceleration test for itself, this model is a lot more peppy than the 2013 models I've tested before. So again, if you're looking for a vehicle that's got some pep, a little bit extra juice, it's not a sports car by any means, but it moves if you needed to. Definitely would consider looking at the S model with that sport button and something 2014 and later. That's kind of our virtual test drive, if you would. This is the quality vehicle. This is one of Toyota's #1 selling vehicle, and I think it's that way for a reason. If you want something that looks good, is super good on fuel, has a little bit of pep to it, then I would definitely recommend looking at the Corolla S model and LE for that matter. I think it's a solid vehicle, and you can't really go wrong with it, really. So that wraps up our video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you got a little bit of insight on what to look for when you're looking for a used Toyota Corolla. If you're looking at these vehicles in particular, be sure to check out our website, www.driveandride.ca. If we don't have these ones here, we're probably going to have others just like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, have a great day, guys.